Hi guys, it's Adria. So for today's video, we're going to be talking about something a little bit more serious than normal, but I sort of just felt compelled and I was seeing like all these signs around me that maybe this is something I should talk about because, I do try my best to advocate for mental health and for being open and honest and starting conversations about things that are typically harder to talk about. Today we're going to be talking about losing someone to suicide. I guess I did always kind of reserve this a little bit. Like I never really talked about this before because I felt like maybe it wasn't my place. I didn't want anyone in my real life to think that, this was like exploitation or anything of that nature. So this was something that happened years ago, and it wasn't something I ever really planned on talking about. It just never felt like something that was my place. Like I said, it's weird when it's someone that's not like your absolute best friend or like your family or your sibling, but it's just somebody that is a friend and someone that you considered a friend, but you're like, well, I wasn't their best friend. I don't know where that boundary is. I don't want anyone to be offended by my talking of them. So whenever I post this, if I even post this is going to be nerve-wracking to post. But, recently I was seeing all these videos about, Suicide Prevention Week and all these things in my subscription box about it. And it just sort of brought back this memory of this friend I had in high school. And, no, I'm not gonna cry. It's fine. So I guess it's just weird to say all this out loud. It's like, this has been like a thought, I've had all these thoughts in my mind for all these years and it's never something I've really like said out loud. So back in 2012, a friend of mine took her own life, and how I knew her, I met her through my friend. So she was dating a good friend of mine that I had in school, and we sort of became friends that way. She also knew the guy that I was dating at the time, so we sort of just had mutual friends and we sort of connected that way. I'm gonna try to go about this as like respectful as possible. I don't want anybody to feel like this is something that it's not. This is literally just like, I wasn't even planning on filming this. I have like no notes for this video at all, so it's probably gonna be a little sporadic. So last night I was on her Facebook, and then I went to like our messenger messages and was just reading conversations that we had, and there was just something so eerie about it to me that's like I could send a message in this chat right now and it would just never be read. And I think it's so important for anybody to talk about the impact of suicide because it's so crazy that it's like somebody doesn't even have to be your absolute best friend for it to still leave a mark on you and still like impact you. A lot of our conversations were really about like navigating our relationships. I was good friends with her girlfriend and she was friends with my boyfriend, so I think it was just kind of like we gave each other relationship advice and we made that connection. Something that I had forgotten about that I read last night was, it's so weird, I've like never said any of this out loud, but she wanted to call me one night to sing to me because she wanted to sing for her girlfriend and she wanted to like practice on me. So I guess the real point I wanted to make to this video was, I guess, just a regret that I had about the situation. And I know it's important to not beat yourself up over things that are out of your control and nothing's your fault. Losing someone for any reason is never your fault. I remember, we had kind of disconnected after I graduated, and I don't think she was dating my friend at this point anymore. We just kind of lost touch. So it was summer of 2012, I want to say. It was probably like the end of summer, knowing my family and when we do certain activities. I know that my family, we always typically go mini golfing like summer nights. That was like our thing. That's even still our thing, which is kind of how I know where this fits. But I remember one night I saw her at this mini golf course And she was like a few groups ahead of my family. She was like with a group of friends. And so I just didn't say anything. You know, I saw her. I don't know if she saw me, but, you know, and this was just like months before this happened. If my memory serves me correct, I'm pretty sure. And that's something that, you know, especially when I heard of what happened to her, this really stuck out in my mind as something like, oh my God. You know, I can't blame myself for what happened, but it was still just like, I feel like anyone in any case in losing someone or something is always just like, what could I have done differently? And I think that was my moment of like, if I could rewind the clock, duh. You know, like I said, she wasn't my best friend, and I'm not gonna act like this is deeper than it is. You know, she was a friend. She was somebody that, you know, she really helped me through some tough points in my life in high school. And, you know, we weren't friends for very long, but, you know, this still proves that it impacts people. Like, it doesn't really matter how close or not you may be, but it has a lasting impact on people. And there was a little conversation that we had that kind of stood out to me, and it was like, you know, she said something like, you know, like, if you ever need anything, like, I'm always here. And I said, you know, me too. Yeah, it's one of those things that's like, you know, even that's still such a character flaw that I have, that if I see somebody I know, I, you know, won't say anything. Like, if I'm not planning on seeing somebody, I'm kind of like avoidant, you know, even if it's somebody that I'm like good friends with. It's like, if I see you in public, like, I'm probably not gonna say anything. It's mainly because it's just like, I don't want to bother you. You know, if you're with somebody else, like, I don't want to bother anybody. I think it's important for everybody to share any kind of story with any sort of situation, even remotely similar, because, you know, we think like, well, I wasn't their best friend, well, I wasn't their ex, I wasn't the most important person in their life, so it doesn't really feel like my place. And I think for a lot of years, I felt like this wasn't my place to say anything, and just to, you know, I think I was just trying to be respectful and just kind of distance myself from it. But, you know, every year around this time of year, it just kind of comes back up. Like, I'll never forget going on Facebook and just seeing all the posts of like everybody I was friends with just saying like rest in peace and her name, and I was just like, I don't know, I guess I'll just share, this is a pretty good memory, I guess, but there was one night, I was at home on a Friday night, in my lazy clothes, watching The Incredibles. I had just had dinner, and I get a call from my boyfriend at the time, and he's like, do you want to go to the Sweet 16 party with me? And I'm like, what? And he's like, oh, by the way, it's formal attire. So I was like, oh dear God. I'm literally in sweatpants right now. And it's like 8 o'clock, and I'm like ready to go to bed because I'm already an old lady. But I literally like whipped out my dress out of the closet, threw myself together in the span of like 30 minutes, and off we went. And she was there. You know, we all sat at the table together, and that was just such a good night. I guess it just kind of bothered me that I was never the first one to reach out. It's so crazy how I'm just like, you know, she probably doesn't think of me as her best friend. And I don't know, I'm always so like, this isn't my place. I guess it shouldn't matter when it comes to like reaching out to help somebody, like with thinking it's not your place. I think it could be anybody's place. So, guess in conclusion, don't beat yourself up about woulda, shoulda, coulda. In the end, like we can't blame ourselves for things that, you know, we can't fix now. Like, there's nothing I can do about it now. Just be the best friend you can be for anybody. Just know that decisions you make have a lasting impact, and, you know, even to people that are even just friends, it'll, you know, leave a mark on them. I only knew her for a couple years, but it still hurt and still impacted me. But I think something important to remember is to celebrate people while they're here. and to not wait for it to be too late, because that's something that I think bothers me about when anybody passes away for any reason. It's just like, you know, we celebrate them once it's too late. We should be telling people how great they are and sharing our memories of them while they're still here. I guess I just felt compelled to share the memory of my friend that I had. So I will leave some resources and links down below. Suicide doesn't end pain, it just passes it along to others, and that's something really important to remember. If you know anybody that is struggling, be there for them and be as understanding as possible, because I think sometimes the world is already too rough. We don't need to make it worse. I'm gonna go cheer myself up because I don't know, I thought I'd be able to talk about it without getting upset. Yeah, so, you know, like, this is just life, and it was something that was on my mind and something I thought I would share, and how important it is to be there for people. You know, if you see somebody that you know, to say hi to them, because you never know what kind of impact anything could have. So I will see you guys again real soon. Until then, panda hugs, love you guys. Goodbye. Give yourself a hug. Okay. Bye.